Hello guys, welcome back to Jace Love Strength. In this video, we're going to be reacting to a video that Mitchell Hooper recently put out and his opinion. And then we will also go ahead and correct his opinion because it's wrong. And so before I get started, I do want to point out that I am wearing my trusty LHBK shirt. You've got my Lift Heavy Be Kind flag behind me. And here is my autographed Mitchell Hooper photo. So these are all things that came as a gift to me from Mitchell. And so, Mitchell, shout out to you guys. Shout out to the LHBK brand. I do want to say thank you. I sincerely appreciate the gift. I felt a bit guilty about receiving free merchandise. So I gifted a few more memberships that I probably wasn't going to do, but I figured that was a way to pay for the merchandise indirectly. So normally people say thank you, Jace, for the membership. In those cases, I'll say you guys should thank Hooper for those free memberships because if he hadn't given me this stuff, I may not have gifted the extra memberships. So, anyway, I appreciate that. I truly do. Now, that being said, I also want to say that just because I got free merch and just because I think highly of the Moose doesn't mean that he's above criticism and doesn't mean that I'm not going to take him to task when I think he's wrong. And that's what we're going to do in this video. So I already told you he recently produced a video and he made some comments. And so we're going to talk about what I'm reacting to in this video now. So let me go ahead and cue that up for you real quickly. And here we go.
I truly believe anyone can deadlift 600 pounds, and today I'm going to tell you how.
All right, that's what we'll be reacting to. Mitchell Hooper saying that he truly believes that anyone can deadlift 600 pounds. All right, let me start by saying I unequivocally disagree. They cannot. Now, much of what I'm getting ready to say also is going to make me sound like a can't, to use a phrase that Hooper likes to use. I'm going to sound like a can't. I'm going to sound like I'm raining on people's parade. I'm going to sound like that I'm putting limitations on people and that I am bringing people down. I'm going to encourage you to listen to the full reasoning, watch the full video, and then make a decision because I assure you that's not what I'm trying to do. In many ways, yes, I will be being a can't because I'll be saying that most of the human population cannot do that. So yeah, I am placing limitations on people, but let it be known that I'm placing a can't on our species and not on any individual user. You watching this video, maybe you are capable of deadlifting 600 pounds. Maybe your brother is capable of deadlifting 600 pounds. Maybe your next door neighbor is capable of deadlifting 600 pounds. I'm not here to tell you what you can't do. But I am here to say that physiologically, we're not built that way. And so I don't want to just run my mouth and pontificate why. I want to use statistics to make my point for me. I want to add something to my corrective opinion. So we'll look at that. And I will provide the statistics. I will tell you where they're coming from, and I'll put links below in the video so that you can go check them out yourself and know that I'm just not making stuff up on the fly. All right. The next thing that I would say is so I just said that again, my heart is in the right place. So let me say that one of the reasons that I believe that Mitchell Hooper believes that anyone can deadlift 600 pounds is a few different reasons. Number one, let me just go ahead and get this elephant out of the room real quick. He sells programs. He sells training videos and content and information. He wants to sell you his product. And I don't hate on him for that. As a matter of fact, I want to buy his programs, and I was actually going to enroll in his personal coaching program until they pulled that Zoom thing back, and so now I have to decide what I want to invest in. But I was going to be a part of the semi-private, I guess is what I'll call it, coaching program. And so, I think he knows a lot. Obviously, I think he's very good at what he does. Obviously, I look up to him. Obviously, and I'd like to learn from him. So this is not a knock on him or on what he can do or what he knows with strength sports. This is just me saying that this personal opinion I just can't sign off on. And having said that, yeah, I think part of it is he's trying to sell a course, right? The other part I think is, honestly, I think he's so freaking good at what he does, it skews your perception of what is likely, what is real, what is normal. When you are as amazing as he is, if you don't see yourself as being that amazing, now make no mistake about it, some of you guys think that he's arrogant and cocky. I do not have the same opinion. I think he's incredibly humble. And when I say this, some of you agree, some of you laugh at it. I will also tell you in a minute why I think he's humble and why you can see proof of that in a moment. But what I would say is this. Um, if you're as amazing as he is, you're going to assume that a lot of people can do the things that you can do. The truth of the matter is they can't. You're looking at someone who has deadlifted over 600 pounds. You're looking at someone who has squatted over 600 pounds. And so when I say that most people can't, maybe you also think that I'm trying to blow smoke up my own butt and pretend that I'm more special than I am, more amazing than I am, and what the things that I've done are really spectacular. I'm not trying to do that. What I'm doing is I'm looking at statistics and I'm looking at a large sample size. I've been working out for nearly 30 years. I have spent most of my adult life spread between 3 commercial gyms. All right? In various sized towns. The town that I'm in now is teeny tiny. We have about 3,500 people. The other town that I mainly worked in was about 12,000, and the third town that I worked out in was around 40,000. So none of them are great big towns, no major metropolitan areas, but I've been to 3 commercial gyms. And I will tell you, in all the 30 years that I've been working out, in gym number 1, I'm the only guy that has ever pulled that figure. In gym number 2, I'm the only guy that has ever pulled that figure. In gym number 3, I'm the only guy that has ever pulled that figure. And again, I'm not saying that to brag or boast on myself. I'm setting the tone of why I don't think that it's a realistic number for us to say that anybody can do that. You might even qualify it. You might say, well, Jace, I'm saying anyone can do it if they make enough sacrifice, if they stick with it long enough, if they eat properly, if they get plenty of rest, if they push themselves, if they don't have self doubt, if they put the naysayers aside, if they have a good training partner who pushes them to the next level. You can make all of these qualifications that you want. And I'm still here to tell you, most people will not deadlift 600 pounds, not because they won't make those sacrifices. Yes, that will stop most of them. That right there will stop most of them, the fact that they aren't willing to do what it takes. But even if you are willing to do what it takes, most people will still never sniff that number because it is an elite figure. And so I actually believe a third reason that Mitchell does it. So the first one, he's trying to slay a program. The second one is I don't think he realizes how amazing he is. The third reason is I think he wants to encourage you. I think he wants to motivate you. And I think he wants to remove the biggest limiting factor that keeps most people from reaching these numbers, which is self-doubt. And I believe he's wanting to say, no, 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 no. Stop doubting yourself. Stop putting limitations on yourself. And I get it. And again, I know that I'm going to come across like a can't. Now, here's where I take the other turn. And here's where I think that it can actually be destructive and demotivating to tell people that a 600-pound deadlift is realistic. And here's why. I think we're probably in agreement that if this number is going to happen, it's going to take years and years and years of training for most people. It's not going to happen within the first year unless you are some sort of freak of nature. You probably got to be a freak of nature to get the number after 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years of training. But it's definitely not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time, and we're probably in agreement with that. Well, here's the other thing. When you set goals, I think that you should set more reasonable and more short-term goals than long-term, because we have a tendency to peak. We have a tendency to get discouraged when we fail to make things. We have a tendency to get bored, to quit, to give up. All of these things are in our nature. They're in our DNA. And I think the best way to offset that and to stay motivated and to stay encouraged is not to put your eyes on a 400-pound bench press, a 500-pound squat, or a 600-pound deadlift. Guys at the gym routinely ask me, Jace, what is your secret? How can I get to a 400-pound bench press? Jace, how do I pull 600 pounds off the floor? And I'll tell you right now, I don't answer them and tell them, here's what you need to do to bench 400. Here's what you need to do to deadlift 600. I don't tell them that. I tell them, how much are you benching now? And usually it's something around 200 pounds and they're asking me about a 400-pound bench press. Or they're deadlifting 315, 3 plates off the floor. Maybe. Probably less. And they're asking me about 600-pound deadlift. So usually what I say is, I wouldn't worry about those numbers. Don't be chasing a 400-pound bench. Don't be chasing a 600-pound deadlift. Don't be chasing a 500-pound squat. You said you're benching 205 right now? Let's work on getting you to a 225 bench, which is a really good bench press. Now, I know Mitchell Hooper doesn't think so because, again, he thinks that everyone should be able to do those. But the truth of the matter is, most people will never bench press 225 either. It's a good number. It's a respectable number. And so I want to encourage these guys, and I want to have them chase after that. And I believe the great thing about that is when I tell them to stop thinking about 405, and I get them instead thinking about 225, the awesome thing then is I can say, now once you get that, we'll reevaluate. And so boom, they hit the 225 and they pat themselves on the back and they're ecstatic and they're happy. And so at that point I say, let's go after 245 now. I believe in you. I know you can do it. You know you can do it. Look what you just already achieved in a couple short months. And they're motivated and they're ready to tackle it. And they start shooting that and they start chasing down those short-term goals. Maybe they'll hit 400 one day. Maybe they won't. They probably won't. But on the flip side, if I just hear them come to me and say, Jace, how do I bench 405? And I say, well, here's what I did, and here's what I think you need to do. The fact of the matter is, even if I give them fantastic advice, they're going to go from their 205 to 225. And instead of being excited and happy about it, whereas if they'd set a goal of 225, what they are is they're just looking at this self-imposed deadline that they had because they were going to go from 205 to 405 in a year and a half. They just knew it. 3 months later, they get 225. Are they happy about it? No. They're looking at it and they're going, oh man, I've only got 15 months to go to get to 405, and I'm not even 20% on the way to my journey yet. I've only taken about 10% towards my goal. I had 200 pounds to go. I've only managed to add 20 of that 200. I still have 90% of that 200 pounds that I need to add to go. And I don't have 90% of my time left. And it's probably going to get harder as I go. They get discouraged. They decide to stay home. And so I believe that when you set this expectation for people that these things are going to happen, they might be possible, but they're probably going to give up long before they ever get there. And so I say set short-term goals instead. And don't even worry about the numbers. That's the other thing that I usually tell the young kids at the gym when they're asking me. Stop looking at the numbers. All you need to know, the only number that you need to be concerned with is what are you doing now? And then what are you doing from a month from now? Is it going in this direction? That's all you need to worry about. Knock some kind of figure out of your brain and just focus on, are you improving? And if you are, you're doing the things that you need to do, and you need to keep on going. You need to be proud of that. And so again, I told you I was going to focus on some numbers here and not just talk. So real quick, here's one of the things that I say for why a 600-pound deadlift is just simply not possible for most people. So that you guys understand, again, you'll find links below the video. But all of this is going to come from strengthlevel.com. Now, this is a lifting community online, and they have millions of people who have used their website who are lifters, okay? Now, varying degrees in that. There are people who are serious about it, who lift for years and years and years, passionately, daily, like me, like many of you. There are people there who have probably gone to the gym 2 or 3 times and are trying to get in it, trying to learn about it, and everything in between. But the point is, the data is coming from gym goers who lift or who have lifted. It's not just some random thing where they just said, well, we imagine this is what people will do. These are user reports from people who have lifted. and they're telling you what their figures are, okay? Now, what you can assume, even though that it's different levels in there and not everyone is going to be super serious, I think it's safe to assume that whatever numbers they are there, these numbers are probably higher percentages and higher achievements than the general population because the general population doesn't work out. And those that do don't strength train. And when they do strength train, they're not lifting heavy, they're doing it for general fitness, right? And so even though not everyone on here is going to be a lunk, to use a word from the judgment free zone of Planet Fitness, even though not everyone is a lunk, they're probably going to be skewed again. It's probably not going to be your normal person walking down the street. These are people who are slightly stronger than your normal person walking down the street. So if these numbers, whatever they are, I think we should expect it to be even lower, okay? So if I go there and I say, "Hey, what I want to do is I want to look at a 600-pound deadlift." Before I even look at that, here's something else that you need to be aware of. When Mitchell says that anyone can do this, I think another thing that he's thrown off by is not only his own success and the fact of him being able to achieve numbers much greater than that and trying to sell programs and all those things. I think another part of this is, let's be honest, who are his peers? He's walking around with a bunch of other 300 plus pound monsters. He's deadlifting 1,000 pounds, so 600 pounds doesn't really seem like that big of a deal. And everybody he knows are 300 plus pound guys who are pulling 900 pounds off the floor. When everyone around you can pull 800 or 900 pounds, yeah, you know that you're strong. Yeah, you guys know that you're stronger than everyone around you. But you think, well, okay, maybe not everyone can pull 800 or 900, but they could probably get close. No, they probably can't. And that body weight is another thing. Here's something that I don't know if Mitchell knows or not, and you guys can look this up and check me. And again, I'll provide the information in the video description. But the average size adult male in the world is right around 150 pounds. So a 600-pound deadlift is 4 times the body weight of the average adult in the globe. Now, if you're in Canada or North America, we're bigger, and the average adult male is right around 200 pounds. I think the last time I checked it was like 199 something. So 199 pounds, 200 pounds. We'll just call it 200, make it a nice round number. So we're about 33% larger than the global norm of 150, a third of that, you add that, 200. So we're about a third as big as most people everywhere else in the globe. But even if you look at the 200-pound figure, which is us, and we're not the norm, but 200 there, that's still a 3-time body weight jump. 3 times. That's a lot. That's a lot. And if you're looking at the 150-pound average for adult male throughout the globe, we're talking now 4 times their body weight. So let's look at this real quick. If we go to strengthlevel.com, we go to strength standards, we choose deadlift by pounds. They have 5 different levels. They have beginner, novice, intermediate, advanced, and elite. That's how they rank theirs, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a 600-pound deadlift. And I'm going to go down here. And we're going to say, we'll use the bigger standards. We'll use Canada and North America. So when we plug this in and know that most people in the world are smaller than us, again, these numbers are going to be even smaller. So we'll say 200-pound body weight. We're going to say 600 pounds. And we're going to say a 28-year-old male. Let's say 30-year-old male, okay? He's been lifting since he was 18, so he's been lifting for 12 years. Okay, here's what we're going to look at. According to that, an elite lifter at 200 pounds, this means the highest class. And the elite, just so you know, that's the top 1%. I think it's actually less than 1%. I'll have to go back and check that anyway. And so what that would mean is that 567 pounds is that top 1%. We haven't even reached 600. You're 33 pounds north of that figure. To get into that top standard, only 567. It's kind of crazy, guys. We go back here again and we look at that. And here's the other thing that you need to know about. If you're at 600 pounds, they don't have a grouping on that. They go from 587 to 606. So we'll say 606 because 587 is not 600. At 606, to get to that elite level, the lowest body weight that even hits the chart, meaning that top 1%, they're too big for us. We just looked at 200 pounds. 220 pounds is the first weight that has anyone hitting that top echelon, that top 1% or subset of 1% there, crossing the 600 pound mark. 220 pound body weight. Yeah. Once we go down to 200 pounds, again, that top 1% is only at 567. If we went all the way down to 150, again, the average size adult male throughout the globe, that elite level is only 457. So again, we're talking about adding a third of the weight to that elite level to join this new elite level. They're at 450 pounds. We're saying, well, dude, you got to take a third of that. You got to take 150 pounds to add to your 450 before you get to 600. And at the 450, they're already in the elite top 1%. How much do you have to climb to go from the top 1% to the top 1% of the top 1%? That's what we're asking of these people to do. And we're acting like it's normal. You can look up the statistics on a sub 11 second meter or a sub 11 second 100 meters, and you will see that it's a pretty small percentage of people who can ever run below 11 seconds in the 100 meter. Now you might go, Jace, every receiver in the NFL can do it. Every running back in the NFL can do it. And I would go, yeah. That's every person in a skilled position known for speed in the NFL. That's not everyone walking down the street. And again, you might go, well, most people would quit too soon. Most people won't train long enough. Those are all true statements too. But even if they do make the sacrifices, and even if they do train long enough, they're not going to run under 11 seconds. Most people are just not capable and they're not built that way. And there's more people that can do the sub 11 second 100 meter than there are pull 600 pounds off the floor. It's a ridiculously difficult and hard number. It's incredibly difficult. Let's not even look at the elite, the top 1%, because you might go, okay, well, Jace, you just said that 1% were doing that, and we were there. Okay, fantastic. Again, the claim wasn't just that someone could, it was that anyone could. So we go from elite, we'll go down to advanced, and then we'll go to intermediate. You know another word for intermediate? Average. Okay? So we go from elite to advanced. At advanced, you've got to go all the way down to a 290 pound body weight before someone's deadlifting 600 pounds. They're close at 280. At a body weight of 280, advanced is 598 pounds. So they're on the cusp, but they're just south of it. That's right. To be an advanced lifter with years of lifting under your belt at a body weight of 280 pounds, substantially heavier than the average size adult male in the world, almost twice as big as the average adult in the world, and 80 pounds north of the average person male in Canada and North America. And you've got to be a little over 280 pounds to even make the advanced category at 598 pounds. If we go down to intermediate, average, guess how many people there, what body weight you've got to do before you get to 600? The answer? There is no weight class on the chart where you have a 600 pound deadlift at intermediate, at average. Zero. It goes up to 310 pounds on their table. And at 310 pounds, years of training, average 530 pounds. 530 pounds at a body weight of 310. We're talking about people who are basically Mitchell Hooper's size, and they're still 70 pounds away from that figure after years of training. And these are not your average people walking down the street. These are your average lifters. So they're going to be closer than the people walking up and down the road who aren't lifting for obvious reasons. 600 pounds is not really practical. And so, having said that, I also thought, why don't I go ahead and ask Mitchell's coach what he has to say about that? So, we got a special little guest appearance here, and we will take a look at what Big Loz had to say about whether or not he agreed with Hooper's belief that you could lift 600 pounds, or that the average adult male who trains hard should be able to lift 600 pounds. So let's see what Big Loz had to say.
Please tell me you don't agree with Mitch's nonsensical assessment that any guy should be able to deadlift 600-pound with proper training.
I think what he means by that is that if they focused on that as a lifetime goal, for instance, I don't think he means any guy should just be able to jump off the sofa and deadlift.
Presumably able-bodied also.
Yeah,
without
I think what he's
underlying...
trying to kind of get across is that you can achieve certain level in anything, and I to a certain degree I do agree. Like, if we set our minds to something, even if we're not the most gifted in the world, you should be able to get to a certain level in something. So the things that I might not be good at all because I have no interest in, but if I decided to commit 100%, I would improve. Putting a number on it is probably the wrong thing to do because people will get upset about a number. But I think what he's trying to get across when he says that is that if you've got that tunnel vision and you kind of put 100% in something, you can achieve a certain level of something. Can you be the best in the world? No, absolutely. Genetics are going to be massively important. There's many factors to why some of these guys are so elite at what they do. But I think 600 pounds is a number he's pulled out of his head. He believes that anyone can get
his
to
ass. But also maybe, like I said, some of that underlying message is that people are capable of more than they give themselves credit for.
Yeah, I think a lot of us kind of hold ourselves back mentally more than physically a lot of the time.
In the gym also, especially when you sort of reach certain numbers, I think all of us have like a fear when it comes to certain numbers, like, whoa, that seems like a lot. And that's heavy.
I mean, I've had people come and train with me and you kind of watch them and you think, this person just doesn't know how to work hard. And you kind of tap into them and get them to learn to see how to work hard. Suddenly, I just had a client come down this week and he's struggled to work hard. He trained with me, Josh and Rich, my two training partners, who were very hardworking. And I think it just really opened his eyes and he put in more effort and he got a lot out of the session. It was really good to see.
That really,
I think the number is irrelevant, but I think the kind of message of what he's trying to get across is that you can achieve more if you put that work in, if you've got that focus. And I think that's probably what he's trying to get across more than just that number itself.
Dennis?
Okay, so there we have Big Loz's words here. And I guess what I would start out by saying here is that I mainly agree with Big Loz. I mean, he pretty much said most of the stuff that I said, except he signed off on that he kind of agrees that that's probably possible. Again, I don't. Now, one of the things that Big Loz pushed back on was he doesn't really believe that Mitchell Hooper means 600 pounds necessarily. It's just a number he chose, and it's probably the wrong thing to choose the number. Well, I would not be talking about a 600-pound deadlift if Mitchell Hooper hadn't mentioned a 600-pound deadlift. I think it's important for us to use that figure because that's the figure he said. And I don't think it's possible. And then he also went on there later, and I think he edited his video to say 600 pounds for men or 360 pounds for women. Sorry, ladies, I don't think that's realistic either. Again, I'm not saying that it cannot be achieved. And I'm not saying if you're watching this video that you can't do it. I want to believe in you. Hopefully you believe in you. If you're hearing me say that you can't do it, which I'm not saying that you can't do it, but if that's what you're hearing, if you're watching my video and you're going, well, Jace said I can't do it. Well, Jace didn't say that. But if so, I hope that you've got enough chip on your shoulder and enough stick it to the man in you that says, I'll show him. He ain't going to tell me what I can't do. I want you to have that attitude. So I'm not telling you what you can't do. But I'm saying it's not a realistic number to put that pressure on people and act like, yeah, if you do the work, you'll get there. If you put the work in, you'll do that. I don't think that's fair because I don't think most people are capable of doing it. And I also think it's going to make them feel like miserable failures if they come up short. When they come up short, it's going to make them question themselves. Was I lazy? Was I slothful? Did I have bad training um, systems? Did I goof off when I could have done something? Did I eat the wrong things? Did I do? You'll have people deal with all sorts of self doubt and self loathing, thinking that they've done something wrong when they might have done things perfectly and had been incredibly dedicated. Just the fact is that we're dealing with a number that is extremely difficult. And so, anyway, um, so yeah, the only reason I'm concentrating on that figure is because that's the figure that Mitchell put out there. I agree with the fact that most people, what's stopping them is themselves, doubt in themselves, lack of belief in themselves, and then after that, a lack of dedication, a lack of work ethic, a lack of all those things. I agree. I don't disagree with Mitchell or Loz, either one, about those. I think most of us would agree that that's going to be the main stopper for the vast majority of people. But I will die on this hill in saying that even if you do the right things, and even if you put the work in, and even if you put the work in for an extended period of time, 600 pounds should not be your goal. It should not be what you set out saying, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not, and again, who am I to tell you what to set your goals at? Shame on me. You set that as your goal if you want. But what I would say is that I think you'll be happier, and I think you'll be more successful, and I think you'll be much more encouraged and more driven to keep going back to the gym day in and day out if you don't use 600 pounds, or if you don't use a long-term goal, whatever that number is, 700, 800, 600, 500, 400. Don't look at the long-term picture. Instead, set a realistic, reasonable short-term goal with modest jumps. Track those, work hard, bust your tail off to get to those, pat yourself on the back, celebrate when you make it, and then go to the next one. I think it will benefit you way more. I think you'll be happier, more encouraged, and more motivated. Whatever the case may be, this has all been about Mitchell Hooper. Now we're going to steal the words from Brian Shaw because I'm done rambling. So now I'm going to tell you, go out and be great. I'll see you guys in the next one.